Hello, welcome to Sonic Lab. I'm Gaz Williams, and joining me is Mr. Tim Exile.
Hello, Gaz.
Hello. And Tim's already showed us his wonderful flow machine, but today we're going to look at his latest piece of software called SLOO, which is?
Which stands for Shed Loads of Oscillators. Shed loads.
Yeah. And SLOO is the latest in, well, like a range of releases that you've made over the years, starting from
the Finger in 2009, which is also coincidentally the year that I released my last album.
Right.
So I've gone from albums to software.
To releasing software.
Yeah.
So it went from the Finger to the Mouth?
The Mouth in 2010.
Right.
And then Flesh 2015. And those were all with Native Instruments. So they were actually kind of Native Instruments products in their own right. That I teamed up with Native to make. They're all derived from the Flow machine and elements thereof. And then recently, the last year or so, I've released a few products just through my own label, I guess. It's just it's a store with my name on it.
Right.
I don't know what you call that. Maybe it's a brand.
So the first release you've done, that was SLOO, is that right?
Yeah.
And that was like the reverb for
the reverb for sloths.
Long reverb.
Ridiculously long. Yeah. I mean, like cartoon long.
And then SLOO now. We've reached SLOO via
flows.
Flows. Okay, so flows was the one in between. And then that was the rompler of your own.
Yeah, that was this kind of retrospective of jams that I've done, really. So it's a kind of cross between a music release and a software release. Really.
Cool.
And then now we're on to SLOO.
On to SLOO. And SLOO, actually, though, is more of an instrument this time.
Yeah, it's a very I was going to say a straight up instrument. It's not straight up because it breaks a bunch of rules by it just uses shed loads of oscillators. It's actually shed loads of voices because you've got all these voices working in parallel. So it's kind of like if you've got a big polysynth and stacked all the voices up in unison. But then it uses this kind of spreading mechanism but it uses those on all the parameters. So you get very rich sounds. I'll demonstrate. I'll demonstrate.
So looking at the screen then, so this interface is a rather attractive interface.
Oh, thank you very much.
Let's have a listen first. Let's see what's going on.
So I've dialed it into a very basic sound.
Okay.
So I've basically made it behave like a monosynth.
Okay.
So it's like it sounds like a complex waveform single oscillator. So you've got all the voices tuned to one pitch, so it sounds like one voice. But then what I can do here, it's got all fairly standard controls like any synth. So I can change the filter pitch or cutoff, as you point, filter cutoff. So it's got a filter.
Yep.
The filter's got resonance. You can also put some FM on. So it's all pretty standard stuff. You can put an LFO on the filter. Oh, hang on. And change the LFO frequency. So, it sounds like a monosynth so far.
Gotcha.
But what you can do is then start to spread any of these parameters. So, the really obvious one to spread is the pitch. So if we start to spread the pitch. So you get this like crazy organ sound. And then if we switch it to one of the scales, you can then spread it into a chord. So it's already...
So all those pitch notes are following the scale rules.
Are following the scale rules, yeah. So you get from sort of 0 to like absolute full-on...
And those scales are adjustable?
Those scales are adjustable. You can edit them in...
neat.
Here, yeah. You just set the notes. You set the mappings yourself. And then you've got a few different presets.
All handily in the word scale.
All handily in the word scale.
Neat.
And the S one is actually a live scale. So it sort of behaves a little bit like a polysynth and a little bit like a monosynth.
Okay.
So I could play a chord. Oh, hang on. No, I need to spread the notes first.
Yeah.
So I'll spread the notes and I can play this minor chord. I mean, we're already into mayhem zone, but I mean, this is SLOO is. I mean, if you like a bit of mayhem,
yes,
SLOO is. I made it for people who like a bit of mayhem.
Gotcha.
'Cause I do like a little bit myself.
Right.
So far we have we've swarmed the pitch. But then we can also swarm. Well, actually, tell you what I'll do. I'll put it in hold mode. So we've now got it on all the time.
Yeah.
So we can change the pitch swarming, change the pitch, change the filter pitch, turn the resonance up. We can swarm the filter pitch.
Oh, neat.
But then we could also, let's say we could change the LFO frequency, but then we could swarm the LFO frequency. So then they all just desync and it just becomes this big drone. And we can swarm the LFO amounts, and then we can go in here and change assign the LFO to pitch, to the FM amounts, the FM pitches, etc. So very quickly we've gone from normality to chaos. But the thing is, it's really, really easy to get back to something very normal very quickly. So that's the idea.
It's very neat. It's very so we can see you've got like certain parameters available, but then by clicking on the pluses there, that gives us more macro controls.
Yeah.
So what's the big slider along the top there for?
This is the morph. So you see you've got two sets of parameters, one down the left-hand side, where at the left of the morph bar, and the one down the right-hand side.
Gotcha.
So you can, which means that you can set up two different kind of parameter scenarios and then morph between them. Because morphing is cool. Like, well, when I say people love morphing, I mean I love morphing.
You love morphing.
And I hope other people do too.
I love morphing, yeah.
Let's actually take the FM
and the ADSR, does that go across both? That's like an overall.
That's an overall, that's the overall amplitude of everything.
What about this big control at the top here?
So that is the random history. So so you have these swarms from the parameters. I'll demonstrate this on pitch. So let's just set the filter up there. Make sure they're there. Make sure there's no FM going. There is a bit of FM going on by mistake. Just make sure everything's
double click sort of.
Defaults everything. Yeah.
Nice.
So here I can swarm the pitches in a nice spread chord like that.
Nice, yeah.
But these are swarmed in a certain pattern, what I call swarm patterns.
Okay.
Which is really, it's just a random distribution of sort of birds swarming around. Birds, sorry, that's metaphorical, isn't it? That's not what I say. They're just random offsets from a central pitch.
Okay.
But I can generate a different random offset. So I can generate these different ones. And they're just slightly different sounds, but then I can track back through them with this history.
And these can all be mapped to controllers?
No, they're not mappable to controllers.
Okay.
But they're just sort of in the internal engine. So,
I see, right.
So I could say if I put swarm offsets on all of these, and then this is going to sound like chaos, and then randomize them.
I see.
Yeah, so they're just, and then in here, I can then automate them, but on key presses.
There we go. Right.
So it just means that the sound kind of varies over time without having to put in complex automation and stuff like that.
Yeah, so what you've done really with the interface then is sort of make something that's simple on the outside, but it's actually got quite a lot of depth once you start digging.
Yeah, it's definitely worth digging into, but also not. If you, I made a whole bunch of presets. So if you just want to like get something that works, then there's a whole bunch. So there's loads of different presets in there. And once you dig in there, I mean, especially the LFOs are actually, I spent quite a lot of time designing and developing the LFOs because to allow you to do this quite polyrhythmic stuff.
Right, especially, and that really lends itself then to when you start to swarm it, then it makes it, the rhythms all open up.
Yeah.
The more you apply.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
That's really fun. And also, with the randomizer, you get slightly different. I mean, you kind of create entire musical structures, really.
Right. Yeah. So you're swarming on the pan as well then?
Swarming on the pan,
Yeah.
swarming on the LFO, and the LFO is hard synced as well. And then, of course, you can morph that.
How many voices is it maximum then, if you had all the pitches swarmed, for instance?
48 uses 48 voices.
48 voices.
48 voices.
Wow. Okay.
Which is sort of shed loads.
Yeah, it's shed loads.
It's shed loads.
Yeah.
And that's not. I mean, that's not just oscillators. That's the whole kind of voice chain, really,
Right.
from the oscillator to the filter to the modulation and everything like that. So it's 48 of those.
Wow. Lots to explore, lots of fun to be had. So SLOO's available now?
Yeah, it's available now. Yep.
How much?
It is 39 Earth pounds,
Okay,
including VAT.
But that's not including Reaktor, remember? That is
Not including Reaktor, unfortunately.
And where will we find that?
That's at my shop, which is just shop.timexile.com.
Brilliant. Okay, so thanks very much for watching. Remember to subscribe to Sonicstate, and we'll see you next time.